Hello, I'm Nicolette Amarias. Welcome to my channel. I'm an exercise coach and a posture and movement specialist. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be talking about how to train to failure safely. Now, this is a new series I'm doing. I don't have a name for it yet, but I'm hoping to come up with one soon. If you have any ideas, let me know. But essentially, this will be a 5 to 10 minute class just talking about different aspects of training. Today, we're talking about how we train to failure safely. Training to failure is a great way to see physiological change and results from your workouts, but there's a lot that comes along with it. And when I say training to failure, I basically mean training to full fatigue, where you can't complete a repetition or you can't complete a set. This is really important when it comes to body composition changes, but it also needs to be very different for every specific person, especially based on your training age. And your training age just means how many years you've been training: beginner, intermediate, advanced, etc. Let's first just talk about why training to failure can be advantageous. When we're talking about changing our body's composition, whether it's growing muscle or losing fat or even just getting stronger, training to failure can be very helpful. It helps us get to a point in our work capacity that we don't normally get to. And it is sometimes necessary in order to really make the muscles and the body composition change. But if you're someone who doesn't have a strong baseline of strength yet, hitting failure isn't going to be really advantageous for you for many reasons. One, it can be dangerous, but two, it's just not going to be efficient. So if you're someone who is under 1 year or so as far as training age, your training day to day that's not getting you to failure is most likely still yielding really good results because lifting is new to you. So you don't really need to hit that point of fatigue or failure. You can get results by continuing to work out and introducing new stimulus to your body and continuing to lift weight and work really hard. Now, if you're a more advanced lifter, intermediate to advanced, you are probably getting to a point where your body is going to need to feel and be under load to a point where you hit fatigue or failure. Now, how do we do this safely? The important part about this is making sure that when we do hit failure and we get to a point where we can't do any more repetitions, we're doing it at the right time within the workout. I typically tell my clients, if we have a method where we do want them to hit fatigue and we really want them to get tired and lift as much as they can, it really shouldn't happen until the later sets of each block. So let's say you have 4 sets in a block, whether it's 1 or 5 exercises, doesn't matter. You want to make sure that those first 2 sets, at least maybe even 3, you don't necessarily hit failure. You are definitely getting to a point where you maybe couldn't do any more repetitions, but you're able to finish your reps. This is really important. You don't want to be hitting failure on your first set. Definitely save it toward the end. Now, the second part of it is just making sure that when you hit failure, you're hitting it in the right way and you're still able to keep your form. The biggest thing I see with most clients is that when they hit failure, it's like they're trying to still force the repetition. Like, let failure happen. If you've gotten there, that's good. So let's say you get to a point in a bicep curl where you're like, I can't lift anymore. Don't force it by going into extension or flexing forward to finish the rep. Like, let failure happen. Let that inform your training and make sure to write down when that happens if you are transcribing your sessions. Also keep in mind that you shouldn't always train to failure. I think this is one of the hardest parts about learning how to program for yourself and ensure that you're working out correctly is making sure you're not doing something all the time. We really should be changing our programming and changing the response our body has to it pretty often. So you do not want to change to failure all the time. It's going to cause too much stress on the muscles and it eventually won't yield any results. So if you're someone who does want to build muscle and you want to grow the muscles bigger by creating damage to them, which is how they get bigger, failure is really important, but you shouldn't do it all the time. I would say if you have a method that you're wanting to train to failure, you could do that for 4 weeks, max, and then take some of that off, change the method a little bit so that you're not reaching failure for months and months at a time, you will start to see your performance diminish. Training to failure should not be easy. It's not just training until you can't do any more reps. It's very systematic. You want to make sure that you're choosing weight that will help get you to failure, but in the later sets of your workout. This is the part that's hard. It's not just about doing so many repetitions at such a high weight that you can't finish. It's about being very strategic and choosing a weight that you can finish, even though it's really hard for your first 2, maybe 3 sets. But then knowing that weight will eventually get you to a point where you can't do any more. And then the last most important part is knowing when to stop. You gotta know when it's time to say, okay, that's it, I'm done. Don't be a hero, and don't let pride enter the equation when you're in the gym. If you fatigue or you failure out sooner than expected, that's okay. Adjust the weight, try again, or try next time. Don't let your pride and your need to lift as much as you possibly can get in the way of your lifting technique and also your safety. If you have any additional questions about this topic, or you want me to go into more detail about a specific part of it, please let me know in the comments. Feel free to reach out to me via email or through my website. All of the details are in the description below. I'm Nicolette Amarius. It was so good talking to you today, and I hope to see you soon.